What is good, everybody? We are live. This is the 8th episode of the Hangout. It's a impromptu space where we can address the latest and most fucking annoying narratives going around the gaming industry and the gaming space, or we can just discuss games in general and appreciate the shit that we are eating at the moment. And as you guys know, the Hangout is a lot more kind of off the cuff and dynamic than the Company of Gamers podcast. Today we will be discussing this juicy bad boy, The Last of Us Remake. Why so much hate? Unless you've been living under a rock or you're a sensible person and don't have Twitter, I commend you for that. I think I cannot not praise you if you do not fuck with Twitter, because Twitter is just a shit show, bro. It's a shit show. A shit show of crazy ass opinions that seem to be prominent and dominant because it's the crazy opinions that seem to gain the most traction. So it's just a clusterfuck. It's a mess. It's a big pile of dog doo-doo. So unless you've been away from Twitter or living under a rock, you'll know that The Last of Us Remake is the primary focus of contention. Excuse me, I'm still recovering from COVID. And the primary kind of target of hate and outrage. And I've been dealing with it for 2 days, and I just needed to vent. I needed to vent, guys, and I needed to address some of these narratives and ideas and claims from big names in the gaming industry. I'm talking about people with tens of thousands of followers, people who have been on stage representing a gaming company like Paris or Froscurin, prominent people, as well as their apologists and all-round general fanboy community, just echoing these narratives and the misinformation as well. So let's get into this. Let's get stuck in. I'm excited. I hope you are. And you're perfectly entitled to disagree. If anyone in the chat disagrees strongly and they want to hop on briefly and give their perspective, by all means, I welcome that. The Hangout is literally just that, a place to hang out and talk. So, yeah, shout out to everybody in the chat. Your friendly PS guy, my brother. It's great to see you here. Really good. Link, what's good? What's good, my guy? JGamer UK, my dude. Awesome to see you here. Jonathan Martinez, Wolfaki, Faye Long, a new name. Lovely to see you here, Faye. Thank you. I hope I've pronounced that right and not butchered it. Might be Fee Long, I'm not sure. Dawn, Ice Cream Gaming, Newtonian, Mary Wilcox. Awesome to see you here as always. And of course, we've got our two guests, but more may come, depending. We will see. We have the Jack Astronaut and Retro. So let's start off with Jack. What's good, my dude?
Yeah, as always, it's been a couple interesting days for me. It's been great. I just want to thank you so much, Wooly, for having me on the show, man. I really appreciate it a lot, brother. Want to thank the chat out here. I see a bunch of awesome names, including PS Gamer, who I have played Destiny with one time with audio issues on that crossplay. So it's good to see you too, brother. It's great, yeah, just playing a lot of video games, a couple things on Xbox, a couple things on PlayStation, bouncing around. And yeah, I'm totally... I think, all this controversy, I haven't brought it up in my own show, about The Last of Us. My personal opinion is that it's going to be a very financially lucrative engagement for Sony. I mean, we're looking at, I can't remember what it's called, brother. Feel free to interject. But it's the highest tier, the collector's edition or whatever it's called, sold out within like an hour.
Yeah, bro, it was nuts. The moment it was announced, it was gone.
It's crazy, And so, I mean, they got the television show coming out through HBO. There's so much great cross-merch potential with this title. I know Friendly's super excited about it. Am I going to buy it? No, probably not. But, just it's not for me. I got them both. I enjoyed them both.
Big facts.
But Yeah, but I don't understand the complaint, because my personal opinion is this, right? It's not being forced on you. It's a game, it's not a price hike on a service. It's
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? If you don't want it, and I say this as mostly an Xbox guy, don't buy it,
Yeah.
and I'm excited for it to do very well, because I want it to be this giant commercial success. I think it's going to be great, because there's just so much more money for Sony and SIE to pump back in and to put into development for other games that I'm going to play on PlayStation. So
Yeah, I mean, it's all good stuff, brother, and I couldn't agree more. I just wanted to introduce Retro as well, but before I do that, for those who don't know, I've only known Jackass quite recently. It's funny, Jack Astronaut. It's such a funny name, but I had him muted, so I don't know if me and you have had a spat in the past, Jack, that I can't remember.
We had one.
Oh shit! Yeah, do you remember?
Yes.
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
It's the same thing I muted you for. I never blocked you or nothing, because I never had no personal beef with you. I don't remember what it was, but I remember, because you and I actually, believe it or not, physically share kind of a resemblance.
Right.
So I remember looking at you and being like, oh, fuck, of course he looks like me, shit.
Fuck this guy. I feel emasculated.
Right? Such a fucking prick, But so I can't remember what it was about. I think it had something to do with Akira. I'll be honest.
Right.
I'm ameliorated, to my understanding, your opinions on that, and I think you and I are good to go. So thank you for having me. It's good to be in the PlayStation zone as a member of the green team to talk awesome.
Yeah, mate. Honestly, it's about time we have some more Xbox fuck nuggets on this show. I'm joking.
No, I wear the title fuck. How'd you say it? Fuck nugget?
Fuck nugget. Yeah. It's salty greens. Yeah, you wear that proudly, bro.
I do, brother.
You kiss Phil Spencer's ass proudly. And I'm joking. I love it.
I'm gonna get Starfield early access. You gotta do the.
Absolutely. If you want to go places, bro, and be an ambassador, you gotta say all the right shit. Big facts. Yeah, I love this guy. No, but welcome, Jack Astronaut, for the first time on the show. I'm really happy that you're here, and that's awesome. We've got Innate on his way as well. Innate is going to be jumping on soon. He's a guy who knows his stuff about Japanese games, and he's a very very well informed individual in the gaming space. So I'm looking forward to having him jump on the show. Retro, my guy, how you doing?
I'm good, bro. How are you?
Mate, I'm slightly stressed. I feel like the residual energy of this last 2 days of seeing all this dumb fuckery being spouted by people on Twitter has just kind of exhausted me a little bit, bro. I'm not gonna lie. It's been one of them stressful. I'm not gonna lie.
Definitely been interesting, mate. But I wouldn't let it stress you too much, man.
Yeah, you're right.
Just when you're on, deal with the comments and everything else, and when you're not, just leave it on your phone, man. That's the way I look at it. Big
facts. Yeah, you're right. But I'm glad you're here, my guy. So let's address quickly the elephant in the room. We'll save this for the hangout, and anyone who watches this show will be able to know what's gone down. But people who don't know, I've got a bit of bad news. Unfortunately, Akira is no longer on the panel. And he's no longer on the panel of the Company of Gamers podcast or at all. And it's really sad, guys. I dealt with a lot of shit over a week, defending a series of events, two of which I can completely forgive and look past and move forward from because they're not that big a deal. Akira doesn't live in Japan. He doesn't know Japanese. He claims to be half Japanese, and that's fine. That's, people don't believe him when he says that. I have no reason not to believe him. It's none of my concern. And I can move past the fact that he pretended to be authentic in his kind of experience of Japanese culture rather than just what he's read up on. That being said, I defended him because as Twitter does what Twitter does and goes ham, and they all flock like a bunch of chickens, kind of completely losing their shit, at the slightest mess up from someone or slightest human mistake. I felt that Akira, he knows his stuff. He has a deep appreciation for games and obsesses over them and loves them, and that's more important to me than a person's authenticity or a person's honesty about their personal situation. It's not my right to know the ins and outs of his life, and I wouldn't ever demand that. But more shit went down. Akira kind of rejoined Twitter after taking a couple of days break, and he hosted us 3-hour spaces, and the things that he said just didn't sit right with me. And there were things that involved how he felt about the use of certain words, and I don't want to slander the guy. I'm really upset about it, and it's something that I didn't take lightly. I didn't want to disappoint my panel by letting him go. I was worried that, you know, shit was going to go south, and because we care about the lad, you know, he's been like family, I guess you could say, for over a year now. But Akira was the one I didn't know the most. He was the one I least knew, the one I was least closest to, and it's because all of this time, you know, he has in essence been a reformed troll, but there is still a lot about him that I had no clue about, including his attitude towards certain things. So I guess that you could say I've removed myself, or distanced myself, and he's also no longer on the panel, and I'm really sorry to anyone who that disappoints. I hope you understand, and you know, it is what it is. I did fight hard for that lad, and I spent a lot of time getting a lot of shit thrown at me because I defended him and his intentions. But there were things later said that just were inexcusable, to be honest. So had to let bygones be bygones. So that's all I'm going to say on it, guys. I'm not going to say any more on it. And I hope that that's the end of that. So yeah. But he was a huge asset to the show, as you all know, and he'll always be appreciated for what he brought to the table regardless. So that's all I'll say. So let's focus on this bad boy. Shout out to Toolman in the chat. It's great that you're here, my guy. You are more than welcome to jump on as well, and Shayon as well, my brother. Awesome that you're here. Nelson, guys, you're all awesome. Nelson Gaming, Shayon, welcome. We have Innate here. I said emote then. How are you doing, Innate?
I made emote in the chat. I know.
How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm just playing psychiatrist right now, you know, and trying to help people get through some things and get to some better understandings, you know, so we can get back to these games. Because ultimately that's what it's really about, and that's what I'm here for. You know, my entire Twitter account is dedicated to that for a reason. You know, so yeah, man, I'm good though. I'm very good at, you know, the human aspect of interaction when it comes to these things. So that's no trouble for me. But yeah, when it comes to these games, yeah, man, I'm swimming in them. So you know, that's always a good thing for me.
We are eating good, fam. And that's great to hear, man. That's great to hear. I'm sorry things have been a bit emotionally draining for you recently. I can understand and appreciate the feeling. I can relate. So I don't know if you've heard of the Hangout before, Innate. Basically, it's like the Company of Gamers podcast, but just a lot more off the cuff, impromptu, and at times crass. I mean, we just kind of say shit that we really want to say and get things off our chest and address the things that are kind of happening in the gaming space. It's kind of the off the record show, so to speak, a little less professional, you could say. And I just wanted to get you guys' thoughts on this. This is the only topic we're talking today, so the show's going to be a bit shorter than normal. But the Last of Us remake. I don't know if you guys have been seeing the things being thrown against this game on Twitter. If any of you guys want to give the lowdown, the shit that being said against it, and the reasons why people are angry about it. Have you guys heard?
I mean, the main thing I understand is cost. I mean, people just can't understand why it's full priced, or they're just distraught about it, despite honestly them having zero plans to get it to begin with. So that doesn't. I don't like. I'm not fighting for FIFA, transactions over here, microtransactions, because I don't play FIFA. So I don't understand this attraction to honestly just put anything PlayStation. Really, this has always been a thing. Anytime PlayStation does anything, there's always this large attraction from all these people who have nothing to do with it, that feel the need to be some form of a detractor towards it. And like a lot of people have said, ultimately, if the $70 concerns you, you don't have to purchase it, or you don't have to purchase it day one, or you don't there's a number of solutions for us as gamers that are already plenty in place for this stuff. As it stands for any game, not just The Last of Us. I mean, this holiday season alone is going to be packed with plenty of amazing games. Especially, if you play PlayStation, PC, and Switch the way that I do, I'm literally trying to figure out time, where am I going to get it from, So
I'm the same, bro. I'm not gonna buy The Last of Us remake day one purely because there are so many games that I'm currently excited about. Primarily, God of War. I know that's coming out in November. There's a Valkyrie Elysium, which I am seriously considering getting because it looks fire, but I need to finish Tales of Arise first. I had my memory, my save data wiped, so I'm kind of, I had a huge issue where nothing was uploading to my cloud saves for 3 years, and I didn't know. I had to delete to make space on my cloud saves, even though it had only taken up 10 gig. And the limit's 100 gig. For whatever reason, there was an issue, and so I lost 3 years of saved data. It was.
I'm definitely buying it day one, 100%.
It was tough to swallow.
Simple. It's the only reason I'm buying it day one is because it's literally my second favorite game. The only thing I put in front of The Last of Us 1 is Gran Turismo. That is literally the only game I consider as a better game. I cannot wait to play that game again, man. See that scene with Sarah near the start? That still gets me to this day, man. It's the one video game scene that has affected me the most emotionally. I've never got it off a game the way that one scene got me, man.
It's the
and
same
I'm not
here,
sure
bro.
whether it was because I had my daughter so close. My daughter was literally not even a year old at the time when I played that. So I'm not sure whether it was that, but it really punched me, man. So yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm
Big
excited
facts.
for it. The price is what the price is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the same boat. You know what I'm saying? I loved it, but my girlfriend literally absolutely loves The Last of Us. There's very limited space in this gaming room. If you've ever seen screenshots or whatever of my gaming room, but there's a couple of things on the wall, and there's only room for a few posters in here, and there are 3 posters on the wall, and the one that's in the corner behind her gaming system, her PC, is a big giant poster of The Last of Us, because it is literally one of her favorite games, if not her favorite game of all time, period. So obviously the moment it was announced, I immediately knew better than to not try and get the $90 edition, because I already know she's going to want it day one, period, no exceptions, and I'm going to thoroughly enjoy it just as much as she will. So yeah, despite all the detractors and all the other nonsense, I already know where I'm going to be, and I'm going to go through and push for it again, and probably go for that platinum right alongside her. So I'm thoroughly excited for it. And I mean, all the other changes and updates and stuff just makes me that much more excited to experience it. And for people, like I said, ultimately who are not, hey, it is what it is. And, if cost is the thing, like we said, there's Black Friday coming up not too long right after all this. So all
Right.
these games, man, you can don't, because I was talking to somebody the other day and I was like, I remember all the people crying on my timeline who had just bought Guardians of the Galaxy, and then it literally was half price, and then dropped officially to like $24.99 at the final price for Black Friday, like just that week. So I'm like, don't fret over all these games or whatnot if you can't get them that moment. Anything that comes out in October or prior is going to at least be $39.99, if not less, come November. So you can get plenty more with a lot less money, and you can include all these games. So ultimately there's nothing to cry about. And and if ultimately, like I said, you're not getting it, then don't worry about it. So
I 100% agree with that. 100%. And by the way, I made the same mistake myself with Guardians. I bought it 2 days before it dropped in the Game Pass. I was really pissed. I was really pissed about that too. But if you want the fuck nugget opinion,
you own it.
I do own it. Yes, I own it. But it's interesting because I find that people, right? There's this like delineating tendency, and I think it's inane, right? Where people tend to focus exactly like you said, inane, and exactly like you said too, Willie. They focus on things that to which they will have no relation whatsoever. I'm like I said before, I'm not gonna get it, but I do not see the problem with people that are just they're raging nonstop about sort of the financial price point of the game. If you don't want it, don't buy it. It would be one thing. So if my PS Premium subscription went up, right, I'd bitch about that. If my Game Pass went up, I'd bitch. Like, these are things that would otherwise be forced upon you. This is nobody's putting a gun to your head and telling you gotta go buy the Last, right? That's objectively not what's happening. It's already sold out of the highest tier variant. I think it was in less than 90 minutes or something. It was like just a little over an hour. So it's clearly going to be financially a very lucrative endeavor for Sony. Last of Us is I want to say it's the most awarded franchise of all time, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of Raw Awards. I think it's got a huge fan base.
The Last of Us 2, yeah. But interestingly, The Last of Us 1 is more acclaimed from players, and its review score is just as high. So it's, The Last of Us 1, although it wasn't the most awarded game in all history, I mean, go figure, it released during a time where, I guess game-related media coverage and journalistic reviews and stuff wasn't as prolific, 10 years ago as they are today. So games get more attention than ever before from journalists and reviewers and stuff than they ever used to. So, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer why The Last of Us didn't get the awards that The Last of Us 2 got, and it was a new IP, so it got less coverage. But still, The Last of Us 1 is very much considered on par, minimum, with The Last of Us 2. And The Last of Us 2 is the most awarded game of all time. It's
That's
crazy.
What it was, the second one. Yeah, my apology.
No,
There's a show, and there's a show coming out on HBO. I mean, that's going to be, such a monumental undertaking, cinematically, is to bring, a franchise with such a following, directly into people's living rooms through the TV, and I think there's a lot of cross-merchandising opportunities to be had with that. I think if you look at it, I mean, just from a layman's perspective, this is a financial goldmine for Sony. There's no reason not to do it. If you don't want the game, like myself, then don't buy it. It's not that complicated of a concept.
The argument that people will raise against that, before you speak, Retro, I'll just say this one point. I just think, the one thing that people will label against that is that this is a cash grab. My guys, it's such a stupid freaking narrative, and I'm seeing everybody say it, that it's a cash grab, it's a cash grab. It's a ground up remake. If it was a cash grab, it would be another remaster. And I spoke yesterday to Michael, what's his surname? Michael Mumbauer. And he fought for The Last of Us Part 1 to be a full remake, not a remaster. Because another remaster for a third time, it's like Skyrim, right? It's just, it's kind of like or a re-release.
He
With
said
slightly,
that would have been the easy thing to do.
It would
He
have.
said that would have been the easy thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But
But
he didn't
this
want that,
game
so
is
he pushed.
huge. I was just gonna say, I think personally, I think value is subjective. I think that's a fact we can all agree on, right? Value is
100%.
subjective. The value that I place on The Last of Us Remake will dictate whether I wait for a sale or not. But it doesn't make me bitch-ass moan to the developers that I should be giving it cheaper day one, all because I don't want to wait for a sale. That's just pathetic entitlement, where you're going beyond the line that where you think more of yourself than just a potential consumer. A consumer has the choice whether to consume a product or not, whether to buy it or not. They don't dictate to the artist, A, what the art should be, and B, that demand that they should. They can try and haggle, sure, but they shouldn't demand that the artist should make what they've created cheaper because they don't want to, I don't know, wait for it to depreciate in value, but they don't value it as its day one price, or they're a self-proclaimed cheapskate, you know? Carry on, Retro.
No, I was literally going to parrot what you said about Michael and what he was saying about the remake and how much he actually had to fight to actually get it remade as opposed to just a remaster. He said that would have been the cheap and easy thing to do.
Yeah.
But then he wanted it done properly. Basically, the way he was looking at it was that there's going to be a lot of new people with eyes on The Last of Us that are going to want to kind of find out where the TV show came from. And he wanted it to be a good representation of the series. He didn't just want it to be a quick... So, people talk about cash grabs and stuff. He didn't want it to be a cash grab. That was his main objective. He wanted it to be a properly made remake.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, big facts, bro. And, we've got a lot of juicy stuff to break down. First of all, I'm going to share with you guys two things. I'm going to share with you a quick post of mine and then a video. And the video is juicy, guys. It's one of the things that caused me a little bit of chest pain because I was so pissed off with the misinformation. I shouldn't get this pissed off, but I can't help it. It is what it is. I'll tell you what. I'll blow up the full screen capture so you can see everything. So I posted on Twitter just earlier on. I'm realizing that the more PlayStation does for gamers, from services and features to games, the more outrage and vitriolic, incoherent and inaccurate bullshit I'm seeing spewed, both from pro Xbox influencers like Paris and Froscurin, and from their apologist Xbox fanboy followers. They should be cheaper.
I'll shoot the message, dog, I swear.
Yeah, sweet, but and what do I mean? What misinformation am I talking about?
By the way,
check this out for a sec. I'm gonna play this video from Paris on his Twitter, and just let's spot how many things are wrong with this video, like misinformation and inaccurate things said.
By the way, one last thing, and it's super quick.
Yeah.
I haven't even read the comments, but I guarantee you I'm getting ethered on Twitter for what I said last night about The Last of Us 2, or The Last of Us Remake. Guarantee
What was it, the $70 one?
I'm not down with that. No.
Oh, I'm not down with that
And it was
either.
funny because Alana had even replied, and I got her point of why they would remake it. Yeah, the issue isn't them remaking the game. The issue for me is them charging $70 for it. I don't agree with that. I don't show me why I should spend $70 for a game that I've already played 2 iterations of in the past 9 years. That's all I'm saying. It hasn't even been a decade, and you've now remade the game twice. And I get they're doing it because the TV show's about to come out. But why are you charging me $70 for it? Show me why.
See, they could flip
That's
it. They could say, "Hey, the game is available on PlayStation Plus subscription." Hey, that would be great, but that's not going to happen. It's $70.
But they're not doing that. They're charging you $70. That's my point. What's my incentive And again, I understand that, there's a lot of work that goes into this with studios, the devs. This has nothing to do with the people that have worked hard to make this remake of the game. My issue is the decision to remake the game in the first place, and then say, well, we're going to charge you $70 for that, because most of your audience has already played it, right? I get that you're going to get some new people to come in because of the TV show and all that, but that game already exists. That game is already one of the best games ever made. We all agree on that. That isn't the issue. It's, you're going to charge me full retail price to go play it again.
But is it a remake or a remaster?
It's a remake.
Remake. I mean, there is some differences. It looks a little different, but yeah.
They're changing gameplay mechanics, all of that. It's going to align
Controls,
more with
the
Last of Us 2.
Right.
I get that, but that story ain't changing. Still the same story. You know what I'm saying? So
What's
I don't know.
the point?
I can see the argument both ways. I just lean on the side of, because I'm a cheapskate, I do not want to spend $70 to play that game again.
What people are saying, like, they're mad that you're saying that, like the fans?
Like I said, I haven't read a comment, but I guarantee you there's people that are mad at me. Guarantee it.
No, they're saying you couldn't sound more entitled as one of them. I just read it.
That's not being
I'm more
entitled.
I'm more entitled because I don't want to spend $70. How the hell is that entitlement?
That's not.
But like I said, people always get mad at me anyways. Doesn't matter. I'm sure people are telling me I'm not allowed to talk about PlayStation because I'm on an Xbox show, or I say something about Game Pass or what other dumb things that they say. But the point is, it's my opinion. And I even said, in my opinion, I ain't saying I'm right. I'm right. I gotta be wrong, but show me why. I see nothing wrong with that.
Instead of sending angry tweets, show you why. I think that's the thing. People haven't showed you anything. They've just been mad.
Yeah, people get mad because, again, it's a stupid brand loyalty, console war nonsense, instead of just looking at the game for what it is. If this was Xbox, again, people have been getting mad at me on the Xbox sides because I've been saying for the longest, I don't want a Gears of War remaster. No. It exists already. Go play what's out there. I don't need them to remake that game and charge me money to go play it again. So this is why you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because my whole point is, I'm not a huge fan of remaking these games, especially a game that isn't even 10 years old. Why are we remaking it a second time already?
Right, I've heard fucking enough. Right, sorry, he's pissing me off. Several things. He keeps stressing that they've remade the game twice. No, they haven't. They're remaking it for the first time. It's the first remake. So I don't know whether that's semantics, whether, he didn't mean that, but he keeps saying it. He said it 3 times during this video. And it's like, why are you pushing this inaccurate information? Second of all, if you don't want to fucking buy the game for $70, you don't have to. Don't buy it.
Yeah, he keeps making the statement as if he must. And I'm like, is there a gun to your head off screen that we can't see? That's going to stay there till release date and going to force you to purchase this title? Because that's the way he's acting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big facts. I literally said to him, I'm gonna try and find the tweet. He mentioned, because somebody said Gears of War. He said he doesn't want a Gears of War being remade, and I said, not feeling the need for a remake is very different to criticizing the retail price of one because you want that remake day one. But you're a self-professed cheapskate, you profess it yourself. You self-profess that you're a cheapskate. You evidently don't want the Gears remake, but you do want the Last of Us remake, but you don't want to pay full price for it because you don't feel that you should have to wait for a sale. And
I mean, he doesn't want to say, that portion that you just stated, because the reality is he wants it day one. That's why he's upset. The only way that's a problem in his particular case is obviously because he's just being cheap about it. Because having the money for it is not an issue. We all that's very obvious. With someone who has literally every device on the planet, including the Steam Deck, which is a novelty item at this point. So, I mean, yeah, if you're just out here playing with money, purchasing everything on the planet, the money itself is not the problem for you. So, if you want to stand on your principle that you believe it shouldn't be worth that, then keep standing on it. But don't be mad at everyone else, for it, and them saying, "Oh, you need to show us." Well, obviously you're not going to see shit until you get to play the game. So no one's going to show you anything. And ultimately that's a decision that you have to decide for yourself. So like I go back and forth with my friends, personal friends, all the time, about whether or not something's worth it, should they or should they not, and the ultimate conclusion is like, look, regardless of how I feel about said game, you have to make that decision for yourself ultimately. Like that's always been what it is per game, whether it was $70 or $40. I mean, there's been games that have come out at $24.99 that have been indie, and I'm like, that shit's not worth it to me. And one day when it's on sale for $6.99 and I'm playing absolutely nothing, I'll probably try it. But I made that decision, and I don't tell everybody about it or bitch about it like they do, but they feel like they have to. I thought it was ironic that he mentioned. Now she had an opposing thought, but I thought it was funny. He mentioned the other one half of the Yellow Chair gang when he was referencing who responded to him. But yeah, between him and his friend or whatever on the show, both of them saying, "Show me," and it's like, well, the only way you're going to be shown is once the game has come out. So you obviously know that. So the only other thing you're pining for in that regard is, why not send me a review copy so I don't have to pay for it at all? Like it's a game. Yeah. It's a game they play.
It's disingenuous. It's disingenuous.
Entirely.
Yeah, you can't argue to show me how the game, show me where it's worth $70. Well, I mean, there's been a lot of flawed arguments that I've been kind of responding to this last 2 days from a lot of the fanboy community, and it. They say things like that this is a recent game. There's a narrative. This is a recent game, right? And people are forgetting this was a PS3 game. It's no different to Demon Souls. It's no different to Dead Space. But it was remastered. Hell, wouldn't you like a PS3 game to be higher res and higher frame rate for your PS4? Of course you would. But that is so different to a remake. Look at Demon Souls, right? If Demon Souls was remastered, like it's running on a PC at 4K, with higher res textures, which, by the way, has been done via emulation. PC SCS3, I think it's called, is a PS3 emulator. And it's literally... it's fully emulated Demon Souls with additional benefits, and seeing it in 4K resolution, it still looks like the old Demon Souls. It is a very very old looking game, and it's a PS3 game. Go figure, right? It still pales in comparison to this. Here's a screenshot that I shared just the other day of Demon Souls. I mean, freaking look at this, right? Even if Demon Souls had been remastered, would you really turn this down? I didn't. I bought this shit day one, right? Because it was worth it to me, right? Just because The Last of Us, a PS3 game, was remastered for PS4, doesn't make The Last of Us remake any less impressive, because what they're doing with The Last of Us in The Last of Us remake is very much on par with what they've done with Demon Souls. A ground up remake it may be 1-to-1, it may not be. From what the developers have said, it's not 1-to-1, right? Whereas Demon's Souls is. It's 1-to-1. It is identical in everything except visual and quality of life improvements. Whereas with The Last of Us, what we've been told and hinted at is that there is far more that hasn't been shown. Michael Mumbauer just last night on Twitter responded to me saying exactly that a lot of the narratives being pushed against The Last of Us will be shut up in September. So that was his tweet. I can find it for you, and I will. But the point is that if it's not 1-to-1 remake, if it's not 1-to-1 as in identical in everything except visual and quality of life, then you can bet your ass that argument applies even more to The Last of Us remake. That, just as I would buy this, because this is a super impressive recreation, then how much more so will I also buy a recreation of The Last of Us that's just as visually impressive? And you can't say that those two games are different. They're both 7th generation console games. They've both received a current gen remake. What the fuck is the difference? Really?
No, I mean, I get it. And if it's I hope it is as impressive looking as this, because this game was insane when it came to Demon's Souls. And for an idea of how ridiculous it was, I'm actually not a fan of the Souls series. Not at all, to be honest. And yet the one that I did complete and enjoyed was originally Demon's Souls on PS3 after I played with a friend. And we had gotten all the way through it. And just seeing and appreciating, being a major graphics person, and, animations. I'm very keen on detail when I play games. Like, I don't miss anything. Like, if anything's out of place, I'm gonna notice it. It's just how I play. And just the attention to detail and everything that was recreated in that remake. Despite me, I'm struggling a bit. It's been a long time since I played one. Just walking through that world, and seeing how they faithfully recreated it into, a next gen masterpiece, just, when it comes to graphics and animation quality, is just something I thoroughly appreciate, and something I personally, like you said, don't mind coming to one of the most celebrated video games of all time. And it's going to be an incredible experience, personally. And people who don't think, like I said, think it makes the difference, I mean, cool, by all means, sit on the sidelines. But that's not going to detract or take away from my experience going forward, and being able to enjoy what this game is going to offer. I was actually, funny enough, one game you would think it wouldn't make a difference on. It's funny that we're on the topic of how incredible of an advancement this is going to be once this finally shows up. I was talking with Morgan, Morgan, the other day, and she was playing Persona 5 Royale, and I was a little jealous because I already have the platinum for that game. And so I was like, I never finished original Persona 5. And I went back and I was playing it earlier, and there's only very slight differences graphically between that game and Persona 5 Royale. And it still makes a, honestly, massively discernible difference for me in the environment and clarity of the game overall, even though the only real difference is that Persona 5R is had upgraded textures. They cleaned up everything essentially, and then made it 4K 60, the whole 9 yards, and it is still a massive upgrade. So when you're talking about a game being fully remade from the ground up to akin to something like the Demon's Souls remake, it's honestly something like I'm not passing up. And I think ultimately that's how a lot of people feel, which is why the price bothers them. But they don't want to say that's the real reason why it bothers them, because they want it day one as well.
They do, and that's the reason for the outrage. Big facts. I mean, I wonder why there isn't any outrage about from these same people about Double Fine's release of Psychonauts 2 Physical Edition. And I've seen a lot of attempts from everyone on Team Green trying to defend this by by even lying, right? Even outright lying. The physical edition is called the Mother Lobe edition. That is the base physical edition of this PS4 game. It is not a PS5 title. No PS5 title has been made. It's the PS4 version and the Xbox Series version and Xbox One, right? So cross-gen at best, last-gen at worst. And it's re-releasing a year after launch, right? At literally 70 quid. And what comes with this edition is a couple of stickers, art cards, and a sleeve, right? A sleeve. That's like the standard of what many standard editions come with. Cyberpunk 2077 came with that. The Witcher launch edition came with that. There's others, right? What people have been trying to say is that actually there's this. You get both the first game and the second game with it. No. That's the 130 quid collector's edition that comes with that shit. So you don't even know yourself the product that you're getting, but you immediately defend it. And this is what it all comes down to. It has to be, there is no other explanation except pure fanboyism. Because I don't see this shit being outraged about. Now, am I outraged about it? No. Will I buy it? No, because I don't view it as worth that price. But I am not going to sit there and bitch and moan that it is that price. I would just wait and buy it when it's the price that I deem it as value it to be. But it's curious that Paris and no one else seems to call this shit out. But they're the ones complaining about the $70 price tag of other games. And it's curious that it always seems to be Sony games that are of superlative quality. The Last of Us Remake isn't a re-release of an old game. It's a ground-up recreation of an old game. And yet this re-release is 70 quid. And it's last gen. It's not even next gen. What the fuck are we doing here, fam? Why is this outrage always pitted against Sony? Well, there's one good, pretty evident reason why. When you look at, who Paris is, for example, random dude hit the nail on the head. Shout out to him on Twitter. We know he's done a lot of work with Microsoft in the past, right? But his end game is to be officially working at Microsoft. He literally tweets here, and I'll pull up the full screen so you guys can see. This isn't too long ago. This is July, this month, 7th of July. Bookmark this tweet. A year from now, I will be working in the gaming industry. It's long overdue. I make this a reality. And flipping Major Nelson says, I hope we can work together. I mean, you cannot be a neutral influencer if your endgame goal is to be working for one of them. Immediately, that prevents you from criticizing one over the other. You cannot criticize Xbox but work for Xbox. It just can't be done. So you won't see these influencers criticizing the $70 price tag of an Xbox Game Studios game that came out last year and is re-releasing for $70. No, sir, you won't. You'll only see this guy criticizing PlayStation. Because there's automatically a skewed bias there.
Well, it's an immediate conflict of interest.
Exactly.
I mean, when you're having steak dinners with these people, hosting shows for these people, they're flying you out to multiple events per year. They're gifting you unlimited Game Pass subscriptions. Sending you $4,000 and $5,000 packages with the latest Samsung phones. And I mean, at some point, it's very obvious that you cannot remain impartial. Like, despite what he says, it's very obvious. His point of view is very obvious, and nothing's wrong with that, being skewed. But the problem is trying to act like it's not when it clearly is.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same way. If you've seen, I don't know if you saw the instance. They tried to erase it. Thankfully, someone found it. They basically tried to scrub it from the internet. But if you remember I can't remember her name right now.
Froskerin?
No, the Sheila something Day or something like that. I think can't remember her name right now, but she was on the show called The Guild. I think it was her show. But she was being interviewed by Game Over Greggy, and
I remember. Yeah.
When she was like,
shit.
Oh, well, screw Sony.
They don't give me free shit.
They don't give me free shit. But Microsoft, I got like 12 Xboxes in there in the closet that I could just give out as gifts.
I think I've got that bookmarked. I'm gonna try and find it.
It was great. I was like, as much as I'm like, damn, that's how you feel. I'm like, at least you said it. Someone finally admitted, full stop, that's how they feel. And I'm like, see, this is what I'm saying. A lot of people feel that way, but they won't say anything.
I don't mean to cut you off. So I'm not right before you get your pitchforks and torches, right? Because I didn't say they have. All right, you know what I'm saying, Doug? But as far as Paris goes, right, I think what he said, right, now I would be very more incensed if he got on TV, right, and he said don't buy it. Like if he made a judgment call and said don't buy it. I will actually give him some leeway. I will not give any leeway to Froskerin for a number. I mean, just a number of reasons. To me, that's some weird like borderline Gen Z troll doll type masquerading as a video game journal. PlayStation's a dead man walking. I mean, the sheer hyperbole and the audacity of comments like that. It's ridiculous. So I think Innate is entirely correct, right? There is this concept of inherent bias, right? We all have it. I am inherently biased as a primarily Xbox fan. You guys are inherently biased, but that's not to say like I love playing PlayStation. I'm sure there's a bunch of Xbox games you guys love playing. The difference is you and I can bust balls and we can talk about it, right? Like I'm not going to complain. Like I'm not going to buy it, right? But I'm not going to complain about it because I may or may not have allegedly bought Skyrim like 4 times. So you know what I'm saying? Like, I paid $25 to fucking fish in that game, so I'm not, and that's all I got out of it. Just I'm able to fish now. I think I did it like twice.
I bought the VR edition, man. You know what I mean? Like
that's my next. I'm gonna do it again. Yeah, if they re-release Skyrim and they're like, we'll give you 6 more pixels for $47. I'm like, dude, what a great fucking idea. Like, that's who I am because I love Skyrim, and I admit this. So I think there is a degree of hypocrisy, right? And I say this like as a member nominally of the Green Team. Like, come on, guys, we bought Skyrim 4 or 5 times. Come on, like how many times have we, we're out there shilling for Forza. Not that Forza's not a bad game, but everybody does it, right? So I do think, Wooly, you're right. There is a degree of sort of the incredulous bias, right? Because it is incredulous when you're that big of a personality, when, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people are turning, into your programs and things like that. And that's a lot of where that's where they're grabbing and consuming a lot of their informational content. So I think, I think you're 100% right. I think the fundamental problem is, and you could say the same arguably of someone like Jason Schreier, on the other side, right? There does seem to be a somewhat abhorrent just lack of inobjectivity in gaming journalism. And I think for Froskerin is and Jason Schreier too. I'm like the only guy who isn't blocked for some reason. It's weird that plays Xbox. But You'll find it on both sides. I think as of late, though, with this, I think it is sort of a culpa mea situation. We are definitely jumping on it. I don't get it. I've spent $75 on Skyrim. I don't see the problem with people, if they so choose, spending $70 on The Last of Us. And games that, frankly, in this day and age, they're few and far in between in terms of these big, for whatever reasons, whether it's a Ukrainian conflict with the Russian Federation, whether it's COVID, for whatever. I think to get a game, no matter what console it's on, it's a game. It is something. It is something for us all to enjoy. I think detracting from new games in any way on any platform I think it's sad, and I think as an Xbox guy, it's personally discouraging for me. I wish more of my tribe was not engaging in that sort of rhetoric. Personally, that's just that's the green take on it.
Yeah, big.
No, I feel you, and I definitely get that, and again, like you said, he's not telling people not to, but like you said, they're asking for something they obviously cannot get right now, right?
Right.
Show me why it costs that much. Okay, well, on release
you gotta
date,
wait to be shown. Yeah, I understand.
on release date, when you don't have it because you decided not to buy it, you can watch someone else play it and see if whatever is shown to you is enough for your $70 purchase. Because right now you're not asking for anything specific. You're just saying, show me something that makes me believe it's worth that price. Well, no one knows what you personally are looking for to make it worth that price.
Yeah, it's very subjective. Yeah, I agree with you.
Exactly. And I'm good with that. It's the same light where personally I had a whole thing recently with someone because Willie said, I'm really big into Japanese games. And there was an article that came out that I personally found I personally found what they were suggesting disrespectful to the franchise, which was, and someone, tried to counter the point. But ultimately, it was that Persona 6 should come, if it does come to Xbox, that it should come day one on Game Pass. And their argument was for it to increase exposure. And my thought to that was, to me, that's disrespectful to the franchise because Persona 4, Persona 3, 4, and 5 are coming to Game Pass currently. Persona 6 hasn't even been announced yet. Well, we have no idea when that's coming and if it's coming or all these other things, right? But to me, I say that's disrespectful because ultimately, if you cannot decide by the time Persona 6 comes out that it is worth your money as a gamer, because I am told from a lot of people in the Xbox camp that they want these games, and now that you've got the opportunity in Game Pass to try out multiples of these games, you know what I'm saying, that the PlayStation community carried to over 6 million in sales, and people both on Switch and Xbox were begging for this game, and now it is coming, and you're going to tell me that Part 6 should come to Game Pass in order to increase exposure? That is nonsense to me. That is a way to shore up or to create an excuse where you cannot test the hard numbers, because that's what we really need to see, right? Mm-hmm. I have no problem sharing that game with Xbox fans, right? If you truly want to be down and you want to rock Persona with me, cool. I'm perfectly good with that. But if this game comes out day one and this game sells less than, 8% on Xbox, and their future iterations no longer come to the platform, then you guys are going to have to be perfectly understanding of that. You know what I mean?
I would rebuttal that, right? And this is not, so here's the thing, I obviously would love every game to be on Game Pass, right? I don't like paying for shit. I don't think anybody intrinsically does, right? I think nobody wants it, but I would also want it on PS Premium. I'm a big believer. I know a lot of people, particularly there's a lot of guys that are really big PlayStation enthusiasts that obviously don't share, and that's totally fine. I completely understand. I'm not trying to bust your balls over it or nothing. But I disagree insofar as that there are a lot of analytics out on Game Pass. It is good for it is good for Xbox. To what degree is debatable, but I think it's 8-1 was the player engagement was going up. I'd have to so don't quote me on that, but I think it was 8-1. It's pretty good numbers. But I think subscription services, right? I personally not only think they're the future, but I think they're the present. I do. I think as gaming as sort of a medium evolves, right? What is the world? Ever increasingly more. We want instant gratification. I think subscription services, they sort of they scratch that itch, right? I would love it on Game Pass because for me, that's one awesome game that I mean, don't have to pay, but I would love to have it on PS Premium too. It's not just a Xbox thing. I would love for that to be everywhere. I've actually never played a Persona title. After you started talking, I just started downloading it on PS5 from PS Premium, so I'm excited. You enthused me. You made me excited. Yeah, no, the way you talked about it, the passion you showed for it, I'm downloading it on PS5 right now. But I would ultimately like to see it everywhere. I think there is, if you do put it on Game Pass, if you do release it on I think there is an argument to be made, right? You are increasing exposure because more people are being able to play it. I think that's sort of just kind of an objective reality. I personally am a big fan of consumer-friendly practices, and I will say I think Xbox is definitely they're sort of the lead horse on that front. But I love, I think PlayStation's doing a fantastic job. Like when I saw that PS Premium library and I saw all those titles in there, I could barely believe it. Like I'd never played Death Stranding. There were a bunch of great games that I was like, oh my God, this is great. So I believe sort of in the subscription service model. I think obviously I don't think we have any concrete analytics on PS Premium. I know Game Pass, from what I've seen, the numbers are very good. I'm sure they're similar on PS Premium, but objectively, I would disagree with you only because I would like to see any game, right? Not just Persona, on as many subscription services and available to as many people for as low a price point as possible. If that makes sense.
I just see that as extremely unrealistic, and that's the thing. There's a ceiling there's a ceiling with subscription services. Even Netflix right now is locking certain things behind an additional paywall. Look at Daredevil. Apparently, I haven't checked it myself, but my mum went to watch it. And because I told her you need to watch Daredevil, and she went, it's requiring me to pay. And she's owned Netflix for yonks. I mean, the ceiling is a lot lower than we think with the subscription services, and it's getting to the point where they're adding advertisements and trying to get every bit of money as they can because it's just not affordable. There's a ceiling of subscribers. I mean, look at.
You know what? I honestly think the future is a mix of the two. I think they're going to complement their systems with services,
and that's what PS Plus is. That's exactly what PS Plus is. It's a complement, right? It has bits of both.
To me, Game Pass and PS Plus are pretty much identical in what they're trying to do. Just the way they're approaching it is slightly different. Sony can't take the losses that Microsoft can. Sony can't make day one a thing the way Microsoft can. Not yet, at least. You know what I mean? They just don't have the money for that kind of expenditure. So it's understandable that they've had to come up with a slightly different, offering, if you will. But I actually agree with Jack. I think that as especially as the future goes on, I think we're going to see the sub services. I think we're going to see them explode a bit more. But I don't think we're ever going to see it take over the kind of normal way people, go and buy the titles that they want.
Well, look at what
I don't think
CEOs have said that.
They're trying.
Go on, sorry.
I just think that they're trying to expand their reach rather than change the way they do things. They're just adding. There's a new way to play. These services are all new. They're still quite new, and being able to stream your games and stream your consoles and all of that. So I think as this kind of grows and this tech grows, that we're going to see subscriptions grow too. But just at the minute, it's just one company doing it slightly different to the other one. So, but who's to say really what's going to happen? We don't know. There could be another video game crash for all we know. Do you know what I mean? But I just see it as more of a partnership thing. I think the services would complement what they're offering rather than trying to be one or the other.
I was gonna say, I mean, I think what you're saying is pretty much on point. Which, like I said, I don't have a problem with that, and I don't entirely disagree with what Jack is saying, right? But I have an inherent understanding, right, where like Wooly was about to say what the CEOs and stuff have said about the profitability of certain things, right? So I understand how important that initial window is for game sales, right? And to me, my thing is if the margin is so huge, like I've heard, then no one should be afraid to let Xbox stand on its own at first to see what happens when this game, like I said, if this game isn't already locked down for PlayStation. Like I said, it hasn't even been announced yet. Um, let it stand on its own and let the fans speak for themselves day one whether or not they're going to support this going forward. Um, yeah, I'm not saying ultimately, they shouldn't come to services and stuff entirely, because I think the way that PlayStation Premium has done it has been amazing, right? Um, if someone came to me and asked me about the two different services, this, that, and the third, I have always told people I've been a PlayStation fan for 20 something years, right? But I am fully in the know about Xbox at every given time frame, and there is nothing on that console I don't know about, right? Because I love technology and I love gaming, so I find myself fully informed on all points at all times, right? So I understand the good and the bad on both services. I understand that there are certain games that are great and amazing that are not for me, and I know the difference, and I can separate these things very well, right? Which is why I've always been a great resource for a lot of people in that regard that are looking to make that decision, going forward for whatever they want to do, right? So for me, though, the key here with this game in particular, right? And then, like he said, he would love all games, and I'm like, yes, gamers would love to pay $14.99 and be certain that games were as supported as they always have been, and we would just continue to get wonderful games, and it would be all well and good. But obviously, I know that's honestly not the case either, which is why additional revenue resources and stuff are always coming up. Um, because some of these games are not sustainable on that business model alone. Not that some games are not thriving off of that, but there are these single player story driven titles that have basically thrived off of those sales and the support of their fan base for years. And I think this is a test in the waters, coming up with like I said, this is specific to this, right? Because I'm big into the JRPG scene, and it is a very heavy back and forth between a few fans on Twitter whether or not they're going to actually support this stuff, because supporting something in Game Pass to me is not the same as you willing to go out and spend your money.
You support Game Pass, you're not supporting the games on Game Pass. Game Pass is supporting the games, but the support that Game Pass gives the games is limited.
Yeah.
That's the issue here. Game Pass gives limited support to devs. You give your support to Game Pass. You are not supporting the devs.
Well, they do, to be fair, right? I think.
Well, no, you're talking about they get paid.
Yeah, they get paid.
They do get paid. I get that, right? But it's not the same as like Live a Live in Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I went out and dropped 60.
Or even £8. If you dropped £8 on a developer's game, that's more money than dropping £8 on Game Pass.
Yeah, and it's like I said, I'm not shunning people who are playing it, right. Jack Astronaut, bro.
No, you're good.
I totally get where you're coming from, but what I'm saying is, like, a lot of the people in the interest of the way that these games are supported, like Japan looks at a lot of this stuff. This is why, I mean, games skip PlayStation. Like a lot of guys argue back and forth. Why is it not on Xbox, right? But a lot of games skip PlayStation, and I'm like,
Oh, I
damn,
know.
why didn't that come? And why is that only on Switch? And why is that like this? And it's like, well, when they went back and they looked at the numbers, and that prior game came out, PlayStation fans didn't support that particular thing, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like to me, I want them to have the opportunity at this game. I have no problem with them having that, right? But I want them to show that initial support and whether or not they truly want it, because I'm being told on when end you want it, but I want to see the results the same way, right? I see people, like you said, people, you have the inherent biases. Well, I don't actually have one, despite me loving what PlayStation has done for me for years.
Sure.
The moment PlayStation fucks up, and I will tell you this immediately, and I've said this for years, I've played on PC for over 20 years. The moment, and I swear to you, the moment PlayStation ever puts every single thing day and date on PC, I will never buy another PlayStation again in my life because
there's no point.
it's unnecessary. Yeah, I will
Facts.
spend all my money on my PC and
Well, I see your
increase
point
these
on that.
factors.
Especially
So-
with. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. My bad,
No.
brother. Didn't mean to cut you off. I was just gonna say I see your point because I am notoriously right, and don't murder me. I know.
Yeah, no, you're good.
I know. I'm like on the gallows already.
No, you're
but
good.
No, not at all.
I notoriously, I just don't like JRPGs and J games, and like and you love them, and that's. I think a lot of that is like I'm big into the Western games, the Fallouts, the Elder Scrolls, the Fable.
I'm
That
a big
leads
fan
me
of
in.
those too.
Yeah. I think, but for me, so that leads me in one direction. So when it comes to, I do want to admit, that you do as much of as I love it. There is a valid point to what you're saying. We typically, as primarily, obviously I play a lot on PlayStation, so I'm not just an. I'm just a gamer, right? But as a primarily Xbox gamer, I think for me one of its biggest appeals in terms of content and game selection is that it is so strikingly dominant with like Western RPGs, and trade-off for that is there were a lot of guys complaining about Final Fantasy 16, and I was like, if you want Final Fantasy 16, go buy a fucking place. You know what I mean? That's where you play that game. So I think you're right. I think we are not a demographic that is, and I think analytically in terms of numbers, it's indisputable. We are just not the demographic, the player base for a lot of Japanese games. So it's nice to see things like Persona, the Persona franchise and Amori and all that coming to Game Pass. It's nice to see. I think it's Dragon Quest X is there, a couple of the Final Fantasies. That's great to see. But for me as an Xbox gamer, I wouldn't say it's borderline immaterial, but it's tertiary at best, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I understand when a lot of PlayStation guys, because Japanese content tends to be a bit of a sticking point for a lot of PlayStation enthusiasts, and I think that's fair. And I think Xbox guys, there's a lot of us that really want it, but for the most part, at least in my Xbox community, the homies that I play with every night, we're not playing that. We're playing things like Halo and Outriders and, very Western, kinds of things. So I'll give you that point. I think we just, for whatever reason, it's not our scene. I think it's stupid to bitch about it. We're not, it's just not, I understand a lot of people are but Final Fantasy 16, the Final Fantasy 7, it was going to, if you want to get a PlayStation, that's kind of where you're going to get. So that's always my natural expectation with things. So I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one. With
it's not even to get at just Xbox guys that don't like it, right? Like, JRPGs is fine. I got hella PlayStation homies on my list that I wouldn't recommend them. Like, Dragon Quest 11 is the last game I would recommend for them to play in my life, because I know it would bore them to absolute tears. So it's perfectly understandable. And I think the one point I disagree with you is, but I also agree in kind, and I'm going to explain.
Sure.
I disagree that that Xbox is the place to play Western RPGs, but I believe it is the future best place to play those, because once Obsidian and once Bethesda come out with those games and they become exclusive for console players specifically, then console wise, they will be the obviously only place to play those games if you are playing via console. So then I think for future reference, they will be. Now, for me,
Fair enough.
it won't make a difference because at the end of the day, like I said, I've been playing on PC for 20 years, and I'm blessed and hope I am future blessed enough to always have a top tier PC the way that I do currently, so that I can enjoy the ridiculous level of mods that come to games like the Elder Scrolls series. You know, I was explaining to someone the other day, I was playing I had an overhaul mod where I was doing ninjutsu and all kinds of crazy shit in the game that literally doesn't exist unless you have this mod.
Right.
You know, and it's like, it was absolutely insane to me. And that particular mod is too big for at least the way that consoles implemented mods prior. So you had to play it on PC in order to even implement that mod. So yeah, man, I think there's grounds for both. You know, like I said, it's not to detract from, you know, the people on Xbox that like those things. But what I'm saying is, I personally want to see, right? I want to see how deep the support really is. That's the only way I'm gonna get it, because Xbox.
It's just not us. The support's not there. I can tell you right now, it's not that deep, and I think that's fine. But I think you're right.
They're telling me it changed, right? They're telling me it's changed. Xbox is a lot bigger, a lot broader, and I'm like, look, I'm willing to see it firsthand, so they can show me, right? Like I said, I've played PC for over 20 years. Like, I've been playing PC since the late 90s, right? I'm one of the first people to tell you, I think one of the biggest wasted times PlayStation ever did was the sales that came from God of War with like under 1 million or whatever, and that was silly. And they pirated the ever living shit out of it. And I can tell you factually they did, because I've seen all the numbers. I know how to do it. It is incredibly easy. It was piratable day one.
2018?
I'm sorry, what?
You talking God of War 2018?
Yeah, 2018.
Wait,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, that shit was pirated in the millions.
I'm just gonna say, I've unfortunately I've not got long left before I have to wrap this up. But just to welcome Chris to the chat. What's
up,
good, Chris? How you doing, brother? You okay?
What's up, everybody?
Hey,
Yeah,
bro.
what's up, man?
Yeah, hey, turn your
how you
mic
doing,
up a
brother?
little bit, Chris, if you can. I'll turn you up as well.
I summoned him with them JRPG words.
Yeah, facts. There's another narrative being spun about The Last of Us remake, is that it's half a game because the multiplayer isn't present, and there's nuance to this, right? There's layers, because I've literally had people saying they should remake the multiplayer as well. Well, that would take longer, right? The products would take longer to release if they were making the multiplayer remake. And what would be the freaking point of remaking the multiplayer of Factions 1 when they're in the mid or late development of Factions multiplayer 2? Factions 2. And if Factions 2 is the free-to-play that it's touted to be, or free-to-owners of The Last of Us, I don't know how they're going to do it. But either way, I've heard, there's rumors that it's free to play, and if that is true, or if it is a small fee, relatively small fee, and not full blown, I highly doubt it will cost. I'm pretty certain it's going to be a games as a service title. Then why would they not only split a player base, having two of the same multiplayer game, the sequel and the prequel, releasing around the similar time? Why would they split the player base and split the player retention? And why would they focus their assets and resources onto making a multiplayer mode when they're literally making the evolution of that multiplayer mode? To me, it's an argument that is so flawed and backwards in its logic, and yet people aren't grasping it, because I'm literally having just today crazy, it's madness, guys. Like, I can get up right now on Twitter, on replies, my response to some of these people that have literally been talking, saying these things. Here we go. Let's get this bad boy up. Here we go. This guy. Shout out to Stud, right? Stud Sav. He threw every kind of bit of logic our way. I can't seem to find the thread, but this same guy was demanding that the multiplayer also be made. And I don't know, do you guys agree with that? Like, would multiplayer Factions 1 being made at the same time as Factions 2 make any sense at all, or would it just be taking assets away from the other multiple projects that they've got going on?
Want to know a secret?
What?
I never played the multiplayer in The Last of Us.
Bro, the multiplayer is amazing. The multiplayer is amazing. That's a big L. That's a big L.
It's not. I didn't buy the game for a multiplayer mode. I bought it to experience that epic story that nearly broke my heart. All right, that's all I cared about. I've never cared for the multiplayer in any Naughty Dog game. None at all. Never. So it's not. It doesn't affect me. I don't care if they make it or not. I'm more interested in the new one because of how it seems to be a fusion of single player and kind of open-ended gameplay. Like, there's new stories, it's a new city, it's new characters. So I'm actually quite interested in seeing what they're actually gonna do.
Yeah.
You know, but I'll be honest, I don't buy Naughty Dog games for their multiplayer. I never.
Here we go. This is the guy, King J. Sorry, that Stud guy was another guy. He was just demanding that it shouldn't cost $70. But we've already addressed that narrative. You know, when it's a ground up recreation and a ground up game, it's with AAA production, it's gonna cost the same as you know, other AAA titles. It's crazy to me. And they also demanded that the game be here we go. Look at this logic. I demand it to be cheaper because cut content, no multiplayer. I bought the PS3 and PS4 version. The least they can do is go the Uncharted route and do an upgrade price. Oh my god. And I'm tired to see the reason, but I can't justify spending $70 on a game I played a lot. And I can understand it. You can't justify paying $70 for a game you've already experienced, and so you don't want to experience the remake. That's your choice. But don't come out with false equivalencies. Uncharted wasn't a remaster. Uncharted was a remaster, not a remake. Remasters have an upgrade path, potentially, if they're a port or a remaster, right? Or a light remaster. Not all. Mass Effect didn't, you know. But this isn't a remaster. This is a remake, not a remaster. It's a full ground up remake. It's like demanding that Demon Souls remake have an upgrade path from the original Demon Souls on PS3. That's people are not thinking their logic through. They're not thinking their outrage through correctly, and it's shocking. And this guy, this other guy, here we go. Look at this. Demanding multiplayer to be released at the same time. They are selling it as a remake of the first game. The first game is standard. They even included the DLC. Here we go. Like I said, remasters and remakes have included multiplayer modes in the past, so that should be the standard we hold developers to. Who does this guy think he is? Like, why the standard we should hold them to? I demand and exact that you, as the developer of The Last of Us Remake, also remake the multiplayer of The Last of Us Remake, so that we can play that. But they're like, are they not allowed to say, well, actually, we're focusing on The Last of Us Remake and releasing it sooner because we're not working on the multiplayer of The Last of Us 1, because that would be totally pointless, as we are working on the multiplayer, the sequel multiplayer iteration of Factions. That to me is completely logical. And it just seems to me like this outrage isn't being thought through properly. And these narratives are just not making any sense. They're not grounded in reality. He said we shouldn't have expected The Last of Us 1 to be remade since they already made The Last of Us 2. That was in response to this. Why should you expect a multiplayer game to be remade whilst the multiplayer game sequel is being made? This is what you're not grasping. And he said that we shouldn't have expected The Last of Us 1 to be remade since they already made The Last of Us 2. And again, that's a false equivalency. They had already made The Last of Us 2. And then now they're focusing on The Last of Us 1. It was originally being made by a smaller team. Naughty Dog, after releasing The Last of Us 2, picked up the mantle and continued supporting the development of it. The Last of Us 2 released, years ago. And they're not in the middle of remaking both games at the same time. I don't know, guys. I don't know what your thoughts are on this, Chris, about The Last of Us remake. All the shit, all the false equivalencies and outrage. It's full price. God forbid a new game is full price. The arguments that it's the same game, even though it's been confirmed to not be, that it's being a reimagining in areas, and the gameplay it's all been shifted to the new engine. And there's fire arrows, there's explosive arrows in The Last of Us 1. I mean, Retro, you said that, didn't you? That was it you that explained that there's explosive arrows in The Last of Us Part 1 remake?
No, it wasn't.
It was somebody else. But yeah, the Last of Us Part 1 does have explosive arrows. That they weren't present in the first game. So that's immediately showing that the game is different, that the game is changing things up. The same game. It is by their logic too soon. Both are PS3 games being remade from the ground up for current gen. And I didn't see any complaints about that. Well, I saw some actually. Bots will be bots. And finally the argument that it looks the same, and we can clearly see. I mean, I don't know if you prefer the art style of The Last of Us remake over the original. I prefer the original. I prefer the sorry, my internet's died. Ah, shit. 1 second. One second, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Apologies. My internet's fluctuating. It does this sometimes.
It's because I called Gandalf Gaming.
Yeah, fucking hell. Here we go. Here we go. We're back.
I called Gandalf and Risk It.
Fuck. Oh, no. The full mob. The lynch mob. Ah, shit.
Yeah, I called all the homies. Just take this fucker off.
The Eye of Sauron.
Yeah. So, I prefer the art style of the original over the new. I prefer the less realistic art style of the original, but that's just my personal choice, right? That's my personal preference.
No,
but,
my girlfriend would agree with you too.
And I just think everybody's got slanty downward eyes in this new one. I don't know. Everybody seems like their eyes just seem more gaunt and drab, and facial structure has changed a lot, and it is what it is, but I do prefer the original's art style. But there is no denying how impressive these visuals are. It's clear, it clearly looks different, especially in game. But I wanted to get Chris's thoughts on all of these narratives, and I don't know if you've been keeping track of it all.
As far as what the remake is, obviously they rebuild it from the ground up, and it's going to be graphically enhanced. They're going to add new gameplay mechanics and stuff like that. But essentially, because if you look, because I talked about this yesterday, if you look at the comparisons from what we've seen so far, right, just only what they've shown us so far, right, every single scene, every single dialogue is completely the same as the original game, right, with the major differences being the graphics and obviously improve gameplay and stuff like that. So to me, this is like a going to be a much better version. Obviously, it is from The Last of Us 1 because they're going to have better gameplay mechanics and stuff like that. So it's going to feel better to play. But if it's like the same story, the same exact dialogues, nothing is really expanded. And I'm not saying, you know, it's bad for them to not do that, right? Because, you know, it's the same thing with Demon Souls, right? To me, is overall, it's going to be a better version of what we played from The Last of Us 1.
Mm-hmm.
So with this better gameplay and stuff like that. And I have no issue with that because I feel like the first one is almost perfect how it is, right? Other than the gameplay that hasn't aged too well and whatnot. So because I remember I was saying it's like I don't think this type of remake should be nominated. We had that discussion before, right? The Game of the Year discussion, whatever. But other than that, the $70 argument, it doesn't bother me that this remake is $70. They obviously they're putting in a lot of work. Like even that Robert animator guy, you know, he says that this is one of the, and he's worked on God of War and stuff like that. But he said this is one of the most like meticulous and like intricate, you know, remake that he's worked on for the amount of attention to detail that they're actually putting into the remake and whatnot. So this isn't a lazy ass, you know, remake or a half-ass remastered or anything like that. So clearly they put in on a lot of work and shit like that. So $70 doesn't bother me. Why? Because I bought Demon Souls for $70, and that was in the same situation. Rebuilt from the ground up, way better graphics for more atmosphere and stuff like that, better animations that improve the gameplay quality of life or whatever. And you know, I'm a huge Souls fan, and you know, you can play that game so many different ways. So of course I bought it for $70, even though it was literally the exact same game as the PS3 in terms of game design, right? In terms of game design and stuff like that. Same thing with Skyward Sword Remastered. It was $50 on the Wii, right? I played the game, beat the game on the Wii. They came out with a remastered on the Switch for $60. And guess what? I bought it because I'm a huge Zelda fan. I'm a huge Souls fan.
Mm-hmm. People are saying that The Last of Us remake isn't the same as the Demon Souls remake in that it's not of the same caliber. And I don't know. Well, it sounds like conjecture to me.
Comparison, yeah, when you look at the comparisons of, if you look at IGN, right? Go to IGN and put Last of Us versus Last of Us remake comparison. Every single scene in that trailer that they showed us was 100% one for one. 100. So the story is going to be exactly the same. Now, if it's something like the story is much more expanded, it's new characters, it's new locations, new dialogue, you know, and expansion and stuff like that, like a Resident Evil 2 or like a Final Fantasy 7 remake, then yeah, we can go off of that. But for so far, from what they showed us, every single scene that they showed us in the trailer was 100% the exact same as the original game. Obviously, new gameplay mechanics and stuff like that. But to me, for something to be entirely new, in my opinion, everything has to be new. Mm-hmm. Meaning that the dialogue has to be new, the scenes, the character interactions has to be something we haven't seen before in the previous game. Yeah. The story and stuff like that, like just like Resident Evil 2 or Final Fantasy 7 or Final Fantasy 7 remake. So I see this more along the lines of a Demon Souls or something like that. But obviously, it's Demon Souls. They just improved the animations. They didn't really add much more to the gameplay mechanics. No. And this one is looking like they're gonna add a lot more to the gameplay. So the gameplay is gonna feel really good. Like I said, it's gonna be a much better version of the first game, but not something, for me personally, that's going to be entirely new experience because the story is going to be exactly the same. But I'm not knocking it for that.
Well, right? You know, value is in the eye of the beholder, Chris, and this is the whole point that this discussion is kind of bringing to a head, right? Is that there is a difference between deeming a product as worth the money to you, i.e. valuing a product for you personally and the value that you place on that product, and demanding that product's day one release price be what you value it to be. And this is what's frustrating me. You know, Michael Mumbauer, who pushed for this.
Well, before you get in that, let me just finish real quick before you get in that.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so I mean, I bought Skyward Sword for $60, and that was a $50 Wii game, and all they did was just remastered it and and with quality of life improvements, and made to where the motion controls, you can actually play it on the pro controller, even though I still played it through the traditional motion control way, because I feel like or whatever, right? So I can't get on anybody for wanting to buy the Last of Us remake, right? I can't. That would be hypocritical of me or whatever. Me personally, I'm not gonna buy it right at launch. But I don't understand why other people get mad about it, like or like the whole multiplayer thing. Obviously, people will have a fair point about the multiplayer if they weren't working on a new multiplayer game, a new, bigger, better, widely more expanded.
Shit, Chris. Sorry, brother. It's happened again. It's hitting 0. 1 second. Yeah, this stream's got to wrap up soon because unfortunately, I don't know whether it's the heat, because it's like 30 degrees here at the moment. It's really, really freaking warm. But I'm getting really weird fluctuations. There we go. We're back. Carry on. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, that I will understand that argument, and that will actually be a fair argument, right? And like, oh, they remade the game, but they didn't add the multiplayer, which was part of the first game and stuff like that, right? I will understand that argument if we weren't getting the new factions, but because we are, right, and it may come out next year, may not, we don't know. But they talk about how ambitious the next multiplayer game is going to be, to the point where like they're dedicating full time, right, on the multiplayer or whatever. Like, to me, it wouldn't make sense for them to release a version of Factions Part 1, right, with the remake, only for next year to come out with Factions 2, and everybody completely abandons Faction Part 1, and there was no reason. Yeah, there was no reason. Like there was no reason for them to waste time if everybody's just gonna jump on the second one. If the second one
exactly
is way better than the first game. So that if there was no mentions of a follow up to the multiplayer, then I would agree with people, and I would think that would be a valid criticism of the Last of Us remake to take that out. But because we know there's a bigger and better game being in the works, and they're actually dedicating, they're taking it very seriously, and this isn't like a little 20-man team that they're just brushing off to the side, like, hey, throw in a tacked-on multiplayer and stuff like that. Because that's how the Last of Us 1 was. It was a tacked-on multiplayer. It was a really good multiplayer, but it was a tacked-on multiplayer, right? And this one, they're actually taking time to really expand and flesh things out or whatever. So they came out with the Last of Us 1 remake multiplayer, and then Factions 2 comes out next year. Then nobody's going to be playing Part 1, or Part 1 is going to die off extremely quick, and it's going to be, you know what I mean? And it's going to be a situation where it's like it doesn't get supported, and people are mad because it doesn't get supported or whatever. And then people, you know what people are going to say? Why the hell did they come out with the Last of Us 1 multiplayer in Part 2 if we're going to get a better version of Part 2? So
exactly,
it's just people complaining a bitch. And listen, as long as you have the options to wait for a sale, if you feel like a game is not worth $70, because I can't say to somebody the Last of Us remake is worth $70 if it's not to them.
Or right? You're a self-professed cheapskate,
Yeah, if it's not worth it for you, that's fine, right? But the game is gonna sell a shit ton. Last of Us is a huge game. There's gonna be fans that want to play a better
sold out straight away, bro. Sold out straight away,
and better improved version of the first game. And I don't like it when people try to gaslight or project their personal views onto others as if their views is correct, as if, oh, you're getting ripped off, or you're getting cut, or you're getting motherfucker. Like I'm a consumer, right? First of all, the type of consumer I am, like if I'm gonna buy something I really, 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 really want, I rarely ever have buyer's remorse. The last time I had buyer's remorse for buying a full game full price was Anthem. After that, I never had buyer's remorse after that, even with the $70 games. I didn't have buyer's remorse for Demon's Souls remake. Returnal, I took a big chance on that because I didn't know that was a new IP. That was a brand new game, and I never been into that genre, the roguelike genre or whatever. I took a big chance on that and paid $70 for day one. Guess what? I loved it. It was my game of the year and stuff like that. So I have yet to have buyer's remorse on the games that I really want to play. Because me as a consumer, I know what I want and I know the type of games that I want to play. And that's the same thing with everybody else. If you don't want to play The Last of Us remake, or if you feel like it's too much, trade in the game, get it for cheaper, wait for it to sell. You know, find deals online. There's gonna be deals and the thing is, it's coming out in September. All you gotta do is wait, 2 months, and the holidays are around.
God forbid they wait for a game that they want day one, but don't want the day one price. It's so silly. It's such a silly, and it's all started in 2020. I don't know why this narrative began, but it began ever since games went up $10 because of inflation. And
here's the thing, Willie. They only complain when Sony does it, because guess what? Dead Space remake, guess what? It's current gen only. It's not coming to the PS4 or the Xbox One. Guess how much that game is going to be?
Full 70?
$70. Nobody's saying nothing about it.
Is it not going to be? Is it not going to be cheaper? No, it's been confirmed to be 70.
It's a full remake from the ground up. It's EA. It's gonna be 70. I'm telling you, it's gonna be a $70 game. It's not gonna be a $60 game. It's gonna be a $70 game, and these motherfuckers are not gonna fucking complain about any of that shit. They don't complain about Activision, Call of Duty being $70 on next gen. They didn't complain about Battlefield charging $10 for you to upgrade or buy $70. They only do it when it's PlayStation for some reason, because they feel like PlayStation has this.
Well, it's 60.
Crazy control.
It's going for 60 physical off websites, so my guess is it will be digital 70. Yeah. Pre-ordering it for 60, you can, but that's physical on. That's the physical edition on like Total Cards. I don't know what that site is, so I'm guessing they mass bought in bulk and they're selling them for cheaper. But yeah, I mean, Dead Space Remake is still a full price game, definitely.
Yeah, and Resident Evil 4, guarantee that's gonna be a $70 game. Resident Evil 4 remake. But see, with Resident Evil, that's gonna be like another reimagining where it's not gonna be entirely the same as the original as well too, and stuff like that. And guess what? I'm gonna be there.
But this whole why isn't The Last of Us a remake like Final Fantasy VII is? You got to appreciate something. Final Fantasy VII was a remake of a 2D isometric game to 3D. What the fuck do you want The Last of Us remake to be? 4D. It's literally like, it's such a stupid argument. It's like, there's only so much that can be done visually because graphics have hit a plateau, but the gameplay systems is what this game's really gonna overhaul. Like Final Fantasy VII did. You know, it's gonna completely change the gaming mechanics in game. I do need to wrap this up, guys. So does anybody else have any final words? Including Chris and Retro and everyone. Just like, speak now. Get it all out.
I just want to thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. And maybe I wanted to say your chat is awesome, by the way, brother. You got some really good friends here, really good followers, really engaged. So, I just want to throw that out there. And thank you for the opportunity to come interact with a community that I don't get to interact with so much. It was a pleasure.
You know, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Every Friday you get to talk to me.
That's true, but you don't count. No one likes you.
No one likes you, Retro. Oh man, not like this.
It was good talking to you. You know, firsthand. You always get a different impression when you get to talk with someone firsthand. Often explain to a lot of people. Like I said, I understand. I have a deeper understanding in the human element when it comes to people and interaction a lot. And I often tell people and explain to people that I'm like, you know, you got to stop looking into so much what some people say on Twitter for some of the stuff. I'm like, it's a very limited number of characters. There's no nuance to it. There's no level of inflection in their voice. Like, you know, and now, you know, yeah, we understand that we both have, you know, some differences in some of the games that we like. But at the same time, you know, we both just had a conversation and realized, you know, we both love Western RPGs. Because, you know, as much as I'm a big proponent of JRPGs, like I said, the space on my wall is very limited, and there's a Fallout poster on that wall for a reason. That is another game that me and my girlfriend shared intrinsically, you know, in our soon-to-be 11-year relationship. Where,
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, that's lovely,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Congrats.
You know, and thank you. And yeah, like that's what I'm saying. So we've come to, you know, appreciate so many different aspects and so many different things. You know, I've dropped 400 or 500 mods in Fallout, gone crazy, had ACRs, you know, I was a whole ninja with lightsabers and all kinds of fun shit. So, you know, I
Yeah,
thoroughly love that.
I gotta start. When I get a PC, I'm gonna go back and play those games just to mod them because I played damn near every single Bethesda RPG from starting from Morrowind on the Xbox One. You know, because I'm a fan of Western RPGs. I prefer JRPGs a little more, but I do like a lot of Western RPGs. But one thing about those games that always bothered me, even from playing Morrowind, is they give you a lot of choices, a lot of options, and the exploration and dynamic world is what makes those games really enjoyable and fun. But the combat is always slow and clunky and boring, man. I can't stand it. And then that's how it looks like with Starfield. That's why I'm not excited for Starfield, because it's like the combat is gonna be boring and clunky and shit like that. And that's what I like. And you know, so with Western RPGs, it's like, and it's funny seeing like a lot of these Xbox dudes, right? And a lot of them do like Western RPGs, but there's a lot of them jumping on the bandwagon now because they bought Bethesda, but they didn't play Divinity, they didn't play Wasteland, they didn't play these other amazing Western RPGs. They're only highlighting the Bethesda ones, and it's like, nah, it's more Western RPGs than that, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I've got Divinity Original Sin 2, and that's a massive
I
undertaking.
freaking love that game, bro. I love that game
It is
so
good.
much.
Yeah, I got it too. I got to start it.
So many ways. That's one of the ones I'm glad I played on.
We need
PC.
to play co-op. We need to play co-op. I've got it on PC and PlayStation. I bought it on both on Steam.
Yep. And that's full worth, bro. It's full worth because that game is incredible, bro.
It's
you know,
insane.
I recently got Wasteland 3 on. I played it on PC to start with, but I also recently bought it on PlayStation sale because they had it for like $11 for the one that comes with all the DLC and everything.
Is it still on sale?
It's not. Yeah, that's the one. That's the sale we were talking about last time. But I've been trying to look out for you. But make sure make sure it's on your wish list, specifically that version. And when it pops on sale, PlayStation will make sure you don't miss that notification, because that's how I knew it was on sale.
Wishlist is a great feature. It goes under everybody's radar, but it's phenomenal.
Oh, I use it all the time.
Yeah,
it's great.
Facts, innate.
But yeah,
Facts.
that's it, man.
Chris, you were preaching before, man. Thank you, and I agree with you 100%. Everything you said was spot on. Feel a little vindicated, folks. You know, I like the perspective that Jackass has brought as well to the table, and you know, I'm glad we could mull this over. You know, it's been a 2-day frustrating freaking thing to watch unfold, how everyone is outraged about this game and its price, and irrespective of the quality and the effort and the time and the budget that's gone into this. And just as there are things that are one-to-one with The Last of Us remake, there is evidently, as Chris brought up, massive changes to The Last of Us remake too. You can't say the same for stellar remakes such as Demon's Souls and evidently Dead Space by the looks of it. They look very much like the same game, except just visually completely overhauled and dialed up to 11, along with quality of life improvements. So I do think this game deserves its just dues, and if it's not something that you want to buy day one because it's $70 for a remake, that's absolutely fine. Don't. I probably won't either, because of all the games coming out, and what a freaking time it is, guys. It's an insane couple of months. We are eating good as gamers the rest of this year and into next year too. Forspoken's releasing in January, and it'll just be insane, the things that are coming, guys. We're not ready, but that being said, I don't think we should anymore have to freaking listen to people preaching the pulpit and demanding that a game's retail price day one be what they think is good for a self-professed cheapskate, because they don't want to wait for it to drop in price. It's like everyday consumerism that's existed for centuries has gone out the window, and now it's not about a business being functional and a business being able to make the money that it makes to sustain the products that you buy. It's just about how much shit can you get for free and what can you get dirt fucking cheap day one, and why should not the companies facilitate that? And that's what it seems to me, and it's becoming extremely entitled and infantile, but anyway, it is what it is. I'm glad we could speak about it. And shout out to everyone in the chat, man. You've been lit tonight. As Jackass said, you're all fire, and appreciate every one of you.
Amazing,
mate. Honestly, like I'm stoked as fuck. Like I've always had like an insanely lit chat on my shows, and they really support the channel. And you know, this thing wouldn't be here without them. So, you know, I appreciate every one of you, all you regulars and all you new faces too. JC, keep on keeping on. What's good, brother? Great to see you here. And Mary, thank you as well. Mary Wilcox, Tony, Twist, Viper Reap. You know, I'm seeing new and old faces here. Buck Roger, as always. Appreciate you, brother. Marlesco, appreciate you as well. Legion, what's good? Guys, you've all been awesome. I hope you've enjoyed the show. It's been a very one-dimensional show tonight. We've just focused on this main topic, but it's been needed to talk about and just expose some of the bullshit. But yeah, have a good one, fam. Should we do outros? Chris, where can we find you?
You can find me in Japan. You know,
bro. I addressed that at the beginning of the show. By the way, feel free to listen to it.
I'll listen.
You motherfucker! You can find me in Japan. You cheeky bastard. I love it.
Yeah, just on Twitter at Chris Righteous. You know, I do you know, really dedicated gaming spaces and stuff like that. Also on Salty's Gaming Podcast every Thursday at, when do we start? 8 p.m. Central? Or 8 p.m. Eastern, never mind. 8 p.m. Eastern. And also on Kiss Moves Planet Xbox as the voice of reason and as the PlayStation guy with the logic and common sense over there. We actually started in August, I think August 1st, which is, I think is a Monday. Mm-hmm. He's actually moving the time from Wednesday to Monday and stuff like that. If anybody's, you know, interested in hearing Smooth's crazy takes and, you know, me debunking his takes and whatnot. It's pretty fun show. But yeah, man, yeah, thanks for having me on.
No, thanks for jumping on.
Time.
Yeah,
and shout out to everybody. And Nate, you know, you're my guy. Shout out to Retro and the other guy, you know, Astronaut. You know, good to meet you.
Jackass, call him Jackass, bro.
Yeah, Jack Astronaut. And then shout out to all of my peoples in the chat. Y'all know who y'all are.
Yes, bro. Facts. Spitting. My dude Innate. I'd love to get you on again, bro, on the Company of Gamers show. It's awesome having you on. You flipping articulate yourself really fucking well, way better than I do, and appreciate you. So yeah, where can we find you, man? And thank you for joining us.
Yeah, not a problem, man. I'm glad I hadn't taken my lunch yet, so I went on ahead and did that so I could jump on, and I'm glad I did. You know, got to have a good time, talk some gaming perspectives, and you know, I found out Jackass wasn't such a jackass, you know, and now we follow each other.
That. Yeah,
yeah,
you.
You know, facts. And, he's all right, isn't he? He's all right.
I could tell from your followers. That's a big indicator. People like Nib and a couple of people I see that follow you don't just follow anyone. So I know a lot of what you said on the show, you know, and how you feel. You mean what you say, and you know you're about that. So
yeah, I like how he brought just himself to the table and said it as it was, even if, you know, people disagree with him. But you can tell he's being real and authentic and honest and not bullshitting.
Yeah, that stuff is very rare.
Didn't I?
Go on, Retro. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
And even though he said nobody likes me, I did tell you he was decent, didn't I?
Yeah, facts. Yeah, he's all right. I think he's a cool dude. We'll have to have him on again, 100%.
But yeah, Yeah, just on Twitter at the real innate. Also my Xbox profile, which is like terribly low on gamer score, but I'm about that life. I got damn near 80 hours in Horizon, Forza Horizon. Unlike some people out there that was capping for that game, I actually played that shit. I wasn't just posting screenshots with the free cars like I was playing that game. My shit is legit.
I bought it. I bought it day -3, and I still haven't been able to play it because it was too buggy. But yeah.
No, I get that.
Where can we find you, Retro Bro?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, XTSX Retro.
XTSX Retro.
Yeah, my gamer profiles are in my bio. So if you want to add me to Xbox or PlayStation, right ahead.
Awesome.
You can find me on the Doom Says podcast on a Friday night. You find me on your other show sometimes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So,
shout out to Doomsayer, man.
Yeah, Doomsayer's cool.
Yeah. Awesome, bro. Thank you. We really appreciate you. Thanks for coming on. And lastly, but by no means least, the Jackass himself, Jack Astronaut. Where can we find you, my guy?
Yeah, you could find me on Twitter. I'm just the Jack Astronaut. It's if you DM me, I will give you both my PSN and my Xbox Live. I just don't shout it over open air. Also, subscribe to my OnlyFans. It's XXX Station Wagon Mayonnaise. Feel free to tune into that. No, you can find me there. That's typically where I am. I'm the only millennial without a Facebook or any of that. So, but thanks for having me. Awesome to be here. Awesome to meet new people. Once again, awesome chat. Thanks so much, Wooly. Great to be here, brother.
Same here, brother. I just love your freaking accent. That Boston accent is just...
Well, I did. It's
just
funny you say that.
phenomenal.
I just got contacted. They want me to voice the entire cast of the next Mafia game. So I'm going to be getting I'm just saying.
Oh, shit. Bada bing, bada boom. What can you do? You got to say that. Go on, say it.
Kneecaps with pipes, steel fucking hubcaps. It's going to be an amazing experience.
Bro, just do us a favor. Just say, hey, what can you do? Bada bing, bada boom.
Okay, well, I'm Irish, not Italian, so it doesn't have the same effect. But hey, what can you do? Bada bing, bada boom.
Oh my God, it's just so right.
You're already like clutching your keys and locking your door, right?
It's just fucking right, bro. It's spot on. Oh my God, it's like, oh shit. I'm living in the 1940s mafia era right now. Amazing, bro. Flipping amazing. Anyway, it's been an honor having you on. Everyone, you're awesome. Take care of yourselves. Use your noggin. Don't be a donut, and catch you